What's up, Lucky Gamers? It's Lucky Lux, and today we're going to be talking about healers. We're going to be doing some comparisons between all the healers because some people really want to know who is the best healer. Now, here on my channel, I really try to, highlight and spotlight everybody. So I'm going to be showing you guys some of the best ways to use some of these other healers versus just using Serena all the time, right? There's like 4 other healers right now that we have on global that people have, and some people want to use them. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. But if you guys like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. Comment down below what you guys think, what you guys want to say, and, have an actual discussion. Don't just say Serena's best, top tier. And then subscribe to the channel if you guys appreciate what I'm doing on this channel, and I appreciate all the support you guys have been doing. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright guys, so when we're talking about healers, we're of course talking about Serena, Fuka, Ayane, and Hanae. Nobody who shields, nobody who has healing abilities but aren't really a healer. Just talking about these 5, and I'm not going to talk about any of them that are on the JP, just the ones that are on the global that we have right now, which I don't foresee any other healers coming anytime soon in the next banners yet. So these are the 5 we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about Serena because she's the most popular, and I can just pretty much get her out the way. She's a natural 1-star. She is free-to-play friendly because you'll get her, like, pretty much guaranteed. If you're, starting out in the game, you will have her. No reason not to. She's easy to build up because you'll get so many copies of her while summoning. And then she has 2 healing skills. Her EX skill and her basic skill. This one here you can actually use in PvE to move, like, students out of the way of attacks, like Shirokuro or even, like, Bina. Right, so this is very useful for that, and it's very cheap, so that's a big plus on her. And then she has like one of the only basic healing skills, and that's just passive healing, especially like for PvP or even in raids. Like you just get, where you're thinking you need to heal a unit, and all of a sudden Serena kind of heals that unit automatically. Now enhanced skill, I won't talk about that for every individual unit. It's going to be healing. Every healer has healing on an enhanced skill. Now the sub skill, Serena's is like, in terms of ranking, the lowest, because her crowd control resistance doesn't really help for anything PvP wise because no one's really using any crowd controls yet. And then for like raids, like it could be something else, right? So that's enough about Serena. Like everybody knows about Serena, right? Like everyone knows. The reason why I'm doing this is because people are like, do I only have to use Serena? I'm like, it depends. It all depends on your investment. But anyway, so Fuka. Fuka is a character that a lot of people are asking me, like, can I use her? Is she good? Like what should you do? I think Fuka is a really, really awesome healer. It's just you have to get past this EX skill cost 5 in your head because you're thinking automatically, well, Serena's cost 2, but Serena heals 1 person. She is a single target healer. Fuka is an AoE healer, and she moves 4 allies to a designated location, and so she's doing more healing. If there was a healing done like stat in the like bottom in the ending graphs that we have after like matches and everything like that, Fuka, I'm pretty sure would come out on top because she's healing 4 people. So when you take this recovering by 109%, you're multiplying that by 4 with the more people that you have. Now, as you have more teammates die, this will become less useful, right? So that's the thing in like PvP, like if you have, I would say, tankier units, this would become very useful. Because then she's keeping everybody alive and she's doing more healing, more than what Serena could do, because like she's having to individually hit every single student that you have, even though it costs, even though it costs less, you're still having to wait for that skill. And then like there's some other, like if you were to do a full tank team, like you wouldn't be able to do it with Serena because everybody's taking damage and Serena can't heal everybody, right? But if you have like a squishier team, this really doesn't help you as much because like most of your units are going to die, let's be honest, within the first like 10 seconds of a match. So with the less allies that you have, the less useful this one is. Just to be honest. Her basic skill, increased defense by 18% for one ally with the highest max HP every 20 seconds. Now this will be very useful for those of you who have like the tier 4 or tier 5 gear on your Tsubakis, or even all the other tanks, because this will increase their defense, whoever has the highest max HP, which most people have that on their Tsubaki, right? Even if you just have a single team with just one Tsubaki, this is really helpful because like most of our Tsubakis are sitting around like I think around 1500 or 1200 defense. So that's another 20%, another extra like 300 for some people. I'll just say 300 to 500. So that's gonna be very useful to just pretty much get them even closer to getting almost to 2000 defense right now for most people. So this is really good, and this is level 1 I'm talking about with this 18% every 20 seconds. Its cooldown is 16 seconds, but it's gonna keep your Tsubaki like alive longer, or whatever tank that you have. So this is very useful, especially for raids as well, because they're taking a lot of damage from the raid boss, and your tank's gonna be, you usually only have like one tank, or you can have like a damage tank, I guess, like a kind of berserker character like Tsurugi or Sumire. If you have them as well, they typically have the highest max HP, so then you can give them increased defense. So this is very useful for even making like, you know, like off tanks as well. So the enhanced skill, of course, is going to be healing. Now her sub skill increases ally crit resistance. This helps your teammates not get completely crit out of their minds as much. Now 9%, that's like, you know, 9% less damage. If your Tsubaki is, well, if you don't have this upgraded, think about your Tsubaki when she gets hit by an Haruna. If she's getting crit for like 40 to 50,000, you know, you're taking 4,000 to 5,000 off of this. Is this going to keep your Tsubaki alive or not, right? So if you invest into this and you get it up to, I think it goes all the way up to maybe like 17% or so. So if you take that 40 to 50,000, cut that by, you know, let's say 15% on that 50,000 damage, you're looking at, what is that, 7,500 damage being taken off from the 50,000. Now you're looking at 42,500. So like my Tsubaki has over that, so now she can live a Haruna crit basically from her EX skill. So that's what you want to think about, is that you could possibly have your Tsubaki live if you have her built up properly, right? She could possibly live, and this percentage goes up with any of the crit resistance she already gets from her equipment. So just think about that. That's pretty useful there. And so Fuka can help keep your whole team alive, especially if you want to be trolling and do a full tank team. All right, so Ayane, I do and don't like her. But that's just, you know, my personal opinion. The thing I don't like is that you could completely whiff this ability and just miss, especially in the raids. I used her in the chested one, and so, you know, your units are moving. You have to make sure that they run into it, and you have to kind of lead them into it, because otherwise you'll just miss everybody. And then also in PvP, it's not going to hit everyone. So you might as well just have a single target healer. But there is, you know, situations like in the Bina one where everyone's kind of sitting still. You can use this for them, and it costs less than Fuka's. But again, you just have to make sure you just aim it correctly. When you put it on auto, it's a very bad ability to use. It's not gonna, you know, make sure everyone gets hit by it. It's gonna go to the person that needs it the most, and they could just be literally by themselves somewhere else. So this is not a good auto ability at all. And for manual, you got to make sure you put it in the right spot and make sure your units run into it, especially if they're being very mobile. Her basic skill, increasing crit resistance by 15% for allies in a circle. So this is what I was talking about with Fuka. Your allies are taking less crit damage, and it can go up from that 15%. We just kind of explained how 15% is actually pretty amazing. So you could use, if you again wanted to do a kind of bruisery tank team, this could help keep your people alive, and you could use that in combination with like Fuka. If I don't know, I might do it one day whenever I get enough resources. But you could literally increase the crit resistance for everybody within a small circle, which most of the tanks kind of stay close to each other. And then now they're looking at taking like 30% less crit damage. So now all of those units that have all that extra crit, you're pretty much like nullifying a lot of that crit damage and just taking just straight damage without having being crit. And now they're staying alive. Again, this is all theory crafting, right? But like for use in like raids, this helps your units not take as much damage, especially from like Chesed, who all those units do a lot of damage. Bina does a lot of damage, and Shirokuro. There's a bunch of like bombs and everything being ran in each direction. You can make sure that if your units are somewhat close to the tank, they can get that extra crit resistance, especially because it's going to be an auto ability. You can't really control this, but it's a very useful thing for if you have a unit right next to the tank, because it's most likely going to target kind of the tank, unfortunately, because we don't know the targeting of these basic skills. And then her sub-skill, which I don't have, increases ally max HP by 9.1%. So again, when I was talking about running a full tank team, if you're just running bruisery units, this is really good because this gives them extra HP to be put into that tankier role, or even for like your Tsubaki, 10% extra HP. If you have a Tsubaki who has 30,000 or 40,000 or even almost 50,000, you know, this extra 3, 4, 5,000 extra health, which can help out. Again, from what I was talking about by getting crit by Haruna, having that extra health does help, because otherwise your Tsubaki is completely out of there. So Hanae. Now Hanae is regarded as like probably like the second best healer on most people's list, just because of what she can do, right? And because of her sub skill, which is probably one of the best for healers. But her EX skill recovers at level 1, because I haven't invested into her, but it continuously recovers 54% of healing as HP for one ally. It costs 4, so it is a lot more expensive, but it is a hot heal. It is a heal over time, so it's recovering 54.1% each second in the last 20 seconds. So you got to think about that. Why is Serena so good and she's a single target? Is because it's a burst heal. You know, this one here is healing over time. So for like Tsubaki, this will help your Tsubaki get, you know, healed up gradually over time. But like typically if she's already taking a lot of damage, you want that burst heal to make sure that she just gets over that threshold. And especially because you don't want her to activate her her basic skill, which is her emergency heal. You never want your Tsubaki to activate that too early, because then later on in the fight, especially if you have long drawn out PvP fights, then it's pretty much gone. Now for PvE, this is really useful, because typically your tank doesn't take too much damage to where they're just needing a complete burst heal, and this one here can give them healing over time, and then by the time it's done healing them and it comes back around, hopefully you can use it on her again. It just sucks because this, for a DPS, isn't really great, because they don't have a lot of HP to heal up. Usually a Serena heals pretty much gets them full, so this is really useful for tanks. And again, if you're running a bunch of tanks just to troll in PvP, this is where this is really useful. Which tank team, you know, TBD, but it is coming. Her basic skill though is amazing. Kind of increases defense by 17.7% for one ally with the lowest HP every 25 seconds. So the only thing is that this is not guaranteed to go on Tsubaki every time, only because like your DPSs might grab this a couple times before it goes on Tsubaki, because your DPSs are taking damage from Shun. Because let's just be honest, our DPSs in the match, if you guys are using the same combo, which I know you guys are, of what is it, Iori, Haruna, Shun, and Tsubaki. Haruna and Iori pretty much, like, if they don't do their damage within the first like 10 seconds, they die to Shun. And then, you know, they're taking at least 1 to 2 shots from Shun to die. Typically, they build them up. And then so Hanae is dropping this ability to them first. And so then you gotta wait, you know, on the cooldown until you can go to Tsubaki. And then finally, by the time it goes to Tsubaki, you're typically only left with Tsubaki and Shun. How many of you guys have been left with the Tsubaki and Shun at the end of the match, right? And then so, like, this is hoping your Tsubaki, I guess, kind of survive the bombardment from, what is it, Hibiki? And shots from Shun. But, you know, it's not helping Tsubaki as in with, who was it? Fuka, who gives this to the person with the highest, you know, max HP, which just means it's guaranteed to go there the whole time. Now this does help if you have like double tanks, because Hoshino takes a lot of damage, honestly, from Hibiki and Shun. So this helps Hoshino become tankier, running a dual tank, and then Tsubaki can kind of not worry as much of Hoshino just dying right next to her, because Hoshino is now a lot tankier. And with Hoshino already having a heal over time, like passive, just throwing on Hanae on there, Hanae is going to heal up Hoshino as well. So then Tsubaki with her emergency heal is going to be kind of a big burst heal. So you don't really have to worry about it as much. And then her sub skill is probably going to be one of the best, like I said, with extra critical damage, which is why everybody loves Hibiki, because Hibiki gives extra critical damage. So in PvE situations, this is going to be amazing because it'll help you do more damage onto the boss, whereas you might have needed that extra 10% extra damage, or even all the way up to, I think this goes to maybe 17%. I haven't really checked, or maybe even 26. However much extra ally crit damage this gives a level 10. This will help boost your team's damage, and then especially in PvP, it's always good to have a little extra damage to kind of like help out, just like crit the mess out of somebody, which is one of the many reasons why Hibiki is like a very high tier support for everybody. So anyways, so Chinatsu has potential, kind of. Her EX skill recovers 195% of healing as HP for one ally. So everyone's thinking like, well, Serena does this, but at cost 2, right? Well, this one is a bigger heal at EX level 1. So this is where if you have your healers that are, let's say we're getting to end game, right? And you're starting to think like, I have healers that have a lot of health, and my Serena never full heals my Tsubaki, right? Because you haven't leveled up Tsubaki's EX skill, or it's just getting difficult for you. So then let's say you run, you know, a tankier team, or you run 2 healers. You have Serena now healing, and Chinatsu pretty much almost full healing your tanks, because she does so much more healing on a single target heal than Serena. So that's pretty much where this is useful, is where it can actually do a larger amount of burst heal. Okay, and so on her basic skill, this is where I wish Chinatsu's heal was at least 1 EX skill cheaper, because this right here is honestly something that I think could be potentially amazing, because increasing evasion for, you know, if you had a team full of evasion units, and this is level 1 by 50%, is kind of huge, right? So a lot of the units that have like a decent amount of evasion are sitting around like 900 to like, what, 1100, like where Tsubaki is sitting at. Giving them an extra like 50%, it's kind of insane, just to boost up their evasion like that whenever their HP gets low. This could potentially like make your Tsubaki, I wouldn't say like necessarily all the way, I guess it's kind of tankier because she's not taking as much damage. Anyway, she'd just be more annoying. And then if you have like Izuna or Neru, or what is it? Is it Asuna? Yeah. Then like they're evading even more, right? And then her EX skill is a bigger heal. So like with her not having a basic skill that's a heal, she has a bigger EX heal. So then whenever your Tsubaki gets low, she can give her more evasion and then heal her back up to full while she's taking less damage from all the bullets coming her way. So that's kind of how I would think to use her. Like, or you could even give like evasion, like a very small amount of evasion to like some of the other tanks, because like most of the other tanks have like 200 to 300 evasion, so it's only going to give them like what, 150, so it's not really useful for a full tank team. You'd have to use it on a bunch of units who have like a lot of evasion, but you could use it for Yuka though, right? So, and Yuka's regarded as like one of the second best tanks for PvP. So this is where Chinatsu, I feel like if you were to run a double healer comp, Chinatsu would be a very good one if you just ran a full evasion team. Something I've been thinking about. Evasion team pending. Then her sub skill increases ally defense and 9.1. So then not only are you giving extra evasion to these evasion units, you're giving them extra defense. So this is like she makes everybody tankier, and she has a burst heal. So she is useful. You just have to think about how you would use her. But again, it takes a lot of investment, right? So that's why Serena's so good, because like she doesn't require as much investment. And yeah, that's pretty much all the healers. So again, in terms of like healer, Serena is the easiest healer to use just right off the bat, is what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's like best for every single situation, because there are situations where I really don't like using Serena and I would rather use another healer. But again, it depends on your investment, and that's the whole thing about this game. Whoever you invest your time and your materials and everything into, they will be your better like unit. Like seriously, for real. So just think about that when you're, using your healers. Like, yes, Serena you can just throw on and make it easy, but there's some others here that have usefulness if you build around that. Again, that's why we have Jury on our PvP live streams, who actually does some interesting things. But that's because I put the time and materials into her. Anyways, that's all I pretty much have for this, guys. Just something for you to think about when you look at the other healers. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lux out.